Today, a man's sexual identity is considered by most as an innate and unchanging component of oneself. But history reveals a surprising truth. The modern application of sexual identity, especially in terms of homosexuality and heterosexuality, emerged only in the mid-20th century, becoming mainstream only after the 1940s. This artificial subgrouping of men initiated profound alterations in how men perceive and interact with each other, stirring an undercurrent of division and mistrust. In light of this, let's reconsider these constructs. It's time to conceive maleness and manhood as an inclusive, all-encompassing spectrum, what we can call the blue spectrum. Abandoning the reductionist approach that boxes male identity into specific sexual preferences, the blue spectrum embraces a broad variety of sexual activities as inherent components of maleness and manhood. Simply put, the blue spectrum discards fabricated sexual identities that alienate men from one another, offering instead a perspective of male sexuality as a spectrum of activity that includes and accepts all men. Homosexuality as term was born in the late 19th century and was later complemented by the creation of its counterpart, heterosexuality. Decades later, following the 1940s, these terms morphed into reductionist, all-encompassing identities for men. Whereas earlier men might have been viewed as taking part homosexual activity, sexual categories came to apply to the whole individual. Over time, the formation of these two categories brought about an abrupt dichotomy, forcing men to identify within rigid bounds of sexual preference. This historical shift created an unseen chasm amongst men. Individuals once unified by their shared gender now found themselves divided, placed into different categories based on their sexual preferences. Men began to see the other in those whose sexual preferences differed from their own. This division served as a catalyst for fear and suspicion, distancing men from one another and creating an environment ripe for manipulation and control. Through the conceptual introduction of sexual identities, further control was subtly exerted over male behavior even in male-exclusive spaces such as schools, sports clubs, fraternal organizations, social clubs, and other institutions. By fearing the other in other men, men were prodded to distrust those who didn't conform to the accepted norms, fostering bias and encouraging self-policing. In response to the fragmentation and alienation amongst men that occurred after the 1940s, brought about by manufactured sexual identities, a new perspective is needed, one that promotes unity and acceptance rather than division. This is where the concept of the blue spectrum comes into play. The blue spectrum is a way of understanding male sexuality not as a set of all-encompassing identifications, but as a spectrum of activity that is inherent to maleness and an accepted aspect of manhood. By shifting the focus from identity to activity, the blue spectrum embraces the true nature of male sexual behavior. It underscores that one's sexual actions do not have to be attached to an immutable identity, dispelling the us versus them mentality between men brought about by sexual identity politics. The blue spectrum cultivates an environment of acceptance and unity amongst all men. It breaks down barriers between men and prevents them from being manipulated by others. The manufacturing of men's sexual identities has proven to have profound social consequences, particularly in the way men perceive and interact with each other. It's essential to reassess these constructs and adopt an updated and inclusive view of men's sexuality. The dismantling of artificial sexual identities, and a return to a focus on activity rather than identity, will lead to a more accepting society, one where men see each other not as others, but as brothers on a shared journey. Thanks for joining. Please share your thoughts in the comments box. Much obliged you hopped on board for this snazzy trip through American life in the 1940s and 1950s, all captured through nifty vintage photographs. If this flick's got your motor running, don't be a square. Click on that jolly bucket of bolts to subscribe to the channel for more top drawer content just like this.